Did you see me?
We're recording.
I know. All right. Hi, my name is Keisha Wilkinson. I am the Wisconsin City Director here in Wisconsin. This weekend, we're actually in Chicago with 30 Impact students from across the state, from the state of Wisconsin. And I wanted to take a moment to do a special vlog with some Impact students from Madison. There was an issue that happened on campus, and I would just want to share with you, I want them to share with you their experience and how they were involved or how they weren't involved. So, hope you enjoy it. All right, so just give everybody a chance to get to know you a little bit better. So, what's your name, your major, maybe how long you've been involved with Impact/UGC, and whatever else that we talked about you sharing that I'm forgetting right now. So, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Tori Briggs, and I am a fourth year, senior season AAA, studying Human Development and Family Studies. And I've been involved with Impact all 4 years at this point. And now I've been in leadership the last 3 years by way of the University Gospel Choir.
And I am Janice. I am also a senior. I finished 4 years. It's my last semester. December cannot come soon enough. I double major in psychology and sociology, and I have been with Impact for 2 years. My first year starting second semester as a junior leader, and now in senior leadership as well.
Awesome. So it went viral. It was all over the country.
Yeah.
Tell us about this homecoming video, how you found out about it, how it made you feel, like how did all this uproar and all this stuff around it happen?
Well, if you don't mind, I'm gonna start it off. It was the night of that it was released, and it was at a weird hour that it dropped to, but that's neither here nor there. And I remember I was about to get ready to go to bed and everything, and my roommate, who was a part of one of the organizations that filmed for the video, rushed out her room to me and my other roommate and was like, y'all have to watch this video. Me not thinking anything of it, I'm like, okay. And we watched the video, and basically the premise of it was like exposing what different things that home means to UW students, right? In kind of promotion of the homecoming celebration coming up. And literally we go through a whole 2 minutes and there's no representation of anyone outside of white people, white students, white faculty, like anything. And it spanned from even incorporating historical videos at UW, and of course, in black and white you just see white. And it was really just kind of crazy to see it. And so we actually watched it again just to make sure. We were looking really hard, we were trying to look at the background people, and it was no one. And even the homecoming committee, no perceived people outside of white people. And so initially after that viewing, we all were just kind of taken aback, and we were like, did we really just see this? And so another person, a part of the organization, she went to social media first, and then myself, and then Jessica, she's also a part of Impact Leadership here at UW. We instantly went to emailing administration, emailing black faculty, emailing our professors, and just really getting this word out. Because
I got an email.
Yeah,
3 o'clock in the morning.
The reality is these things have happened already, and so we already knew the process. We were going to make complaints, and the video was going to be taken down. So I made it a point to actually screen record the video, which I'm really grateful that I did, because lo and behold, the next morning before even 9 o'clock, the video was taken down, and many people hadn't seen the video, right?
And so that screen taking of the video that's been going viral is what you recorded.
Yes. So I was able to capture that, sit through that 2 minutes again, because I realized that this is something that it needs to be seen, not just talked about, right? Because it's so easy in the history of this campus and so many others of the sort to just push things under the rug with a letter from the chancellor or whoever is going to respond, right? And so in that moment, I just realized, like, this needs to be a moment that is different than another moment that we've had on this campus. So I'm grateful that God placed it on my heart to do that, because that has been a very, like, influential piece, and even to folks responding like Janice, of what she can explain.
Yeah, and so I found out about the whole video through Jess, because Jess had been sharing some things on her social media. And as Tori mentioned, Jess is also a part of Impact Leadership. And so I had saw the video, and I was like, why is this like this? And as a student who has been involved in the multicultural community the past 4 years, both being an intern at our Multicultural Student Center and working very closely with different racial and ethnic groups, to hear the words that the video was saying and to see that no people of color were represented. And so they would say things like, we've made this land our home, even though it's the land of the Ho-Chunk Nation, a Native Indigenous group. They said things like, we've broken barriers, but the image they chose to put with breaking barriers was football. And there was just a blatant erasure of the experiences of not only Black folk, but all of the people of color groups at UW, and their histories at UW, and the protests at UW, and all of the things that student of color activists have brought to this campus, who have not been compensated for it, but instead have continued to feel in ways like we mentioned, just being erased. And so I had wrote a little Facebook post, and it basically went mini viral. As far as I know, a lot of people both on Facebook and Instagram had shared the post on their stories, and it just spread. And when I was writing it, I won't say I was coming from a place of anger, but I was coming from a place of disappointment, because my freshman year, here I am 5 years later, but my freshman year, we had a whole nother series of protests called The Real UW. And that year, a lot of different racially charged incidents happened. And so as a student, as a Black woman on this campus, my entire, time at UW, my entire association with UW has been around a negative racial climate. And so when I wrote when I wrote my response post, it was acknowledging the different student groups who were on campus, acknowledging the history of campus, acknowledging how they could have done better, and really calling out administration and saying, how could no one have paused and been like, there are no people of color in this video, like none whatsoever. And so as mentioned, it went smallly viral, and I later found out that different student groups have been using it to have discussion about what's going on with the homecoming video, about racial climate, and I'm really grateful for that. And I mean, I know you want us to go into our faith and how our faith impacts that, and I think as followers of Christ, our job is to cast out oppression, and our job is to support all of his people, which includes all of those students on that campus. And so when it comes to making sure that folks have the resources folks can thrive, social justice is a key part of my Christianity. And so, yeah, it was just another disappointing thing that happened. But I'm glad that it's getting conversation started again. And I'm worried about what's going to happen next, especially the history of the university just giving apology statements and brushing it over like nothing happened.
Yeah, to add on to that, and kind of seeping into what you've started touching on, I know me personally, like, in that moment, I was very quick to respond
Mm-hmm.
because of me reflecting on the teaching that you gave us while you were still coaching at UW in terms of being a righteous revolutionary. And like in that moment, it all became apparent of why that teaching was so important and why it's so important for us to realize our place on this campus, because there are so many issues that can be dealt with in so many different ways. And understanding that we too are a part of this community on this campus, and understanding our leadership and impact and what we're here for and what our purpose is on this campus, I just knew that it was important for us to be involved, whether we were the face or if we were just a kind of piece to the puzzle. And so I'm just really grateful for the teaching and the knowledge that I was passed down within the span of like a year prior to this happening, because I don't know how I would have responded a year ago. But I just really am grateful to God that He put us in a place where He prepared us before He sent us out to be forerunners of this fight. And I'm just proud to be of a leadership team that was ready and charged to tackle this head on. And although some of us who kind of started this race and this particular issue aren't necessarily the face of it, we were able to influence other people to get involved and other coalitions to be organized and all of these different things. So despite the tragedy and the disappointment and all these different things that this has caused, that is one thing that I can reflect in pride in. And so, yeah.
So I know one thing that you all haven't mentioned was like, how did it feel? Seeing a video like that, what did that say to you? What feelings crossed your mind? What thoughts?
I mean, the first thing was that I can't call Wisconsin home, because the whole like hashtag originally for the video is home is where we are, and like we as in Wisconsin. And I'm a Black woman, and I couldn't see myself represented in any way in that video. So you're inherently telling me that even though I've spent 5 years on this campus, contributed my knowledge, contributed my time, my work, that I still cannot call this place home. And so, and that's not just me, that's pretty much every student of color that exists on this campus. And so my initial reaction, it was anger, and I had to sit down and I had to think for a second, because I don't like to react from the first emotion I feel. But, you know, having to humble myself and having to process it and having to pray and, you know, going to Jesus and saying, you know, why does this keep happening? And so there was a lot of frustration in that moment. And it took some time to just, again, like sit and process after all of the time and after all of the years, even spanning decades, that folks of color have been trying to call this out, and it continues to happen.
I mean, I started school at UW in 2006, and the same stuff was happening.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think one of my initial feelings was definitely feeling disrespected. And that's because of the context that a lot of people aren't aware of, which was the initial initiation of the crew or whoever was over the making of the video, like sending out emails to numerous multicultural communities and groups and organizations on campus, you know, wanting them to be a part. And in response to that, they had a multitude of multicultural groups and communities to come out, which one of them, you know, being close to home because that's one of my best friends. And so it was like you intentionally didn't include them.
You thought to include them.
You thought to include
and you
them.
edited them out.
And you basically lied to them and didn't include them. And so it was just like, not only did we not get represented, you know, holistically, but we were intentionally not represented and not included, even though you had footage to include us. And so it was just, I just felt disrespected. Even if it wasn't an organization that I was a part of, it is an organization I'm a part of because it does represent me on this campus. And so I mean, hearing the home is where we are. Well, looking at the video, who is we? Because I don't see me. So clearly you're not saying home is where I am. Home is where you are. And it's furthering that perpetuation of the them versus us. And it was very disappointing. It wasn't surprising, which is kind of crazy. But it was definitely disappointing because I know for me, like, I've never really experienced as much like overt kind of happenings until I came to college. And so I came in with this mindset of like, oh, kind of like optimism and like, it's not that bad. Like, we can keep going. Like, we have a strong community here, but it's just like, no, I mean, you do things and it just comes down to the systematic and institutional like hate embedded in these institutions, and just complete like, this is an institution that brags about their diversity, which
It's not.
I don't understand why, when we're well below the diversity line. I mean, it's estimated around 2%, but I think from the last things I saw, it was 1.8 as of today. And so it's just
Black
like,
students on campus.
you literally have this small pool of people that is driving this diversity train for you, and you don't do the bare minimum to cater to them. And so it's just complete disrespect, and at this point, letters it's not enough. It's not enough at all.
So what does it say about the need for organizations like Impact, or what does Impact lend to the atmosphere that Wisconsin provides for Black students?
I think that for this campus specifically, given the history and even just my time here, I think Impact, if not the most important, one of the most important organizations on this campus. One, because of our call to being a righteous revolutionary by Jesus himself, but also for the social climate on this campus, for the multicultural community, specifically the Black community. Because taking all of these hits, it breaks people down. Even people that were on fire or on the more radical end some years ago, like, I see them deteriorating and kind of removing themselves and not being as radical or being as involved.
So
and
the activists, the known activists on campus that started off
are starting
year,
to dwindle out, and it's because all of these feelings of erasure and not wanted and not feeling loved, not feeling welcome, it's all coming down. Because I mean, this is just one thing we're dealing with, right? Outside of like you being here and being a student and being, you know, all these different things. And so I think it's more so important for us to be here to love on this community and to be a support, even though we're a part of the community that needs support. I think that we're able to kind of reach deeper down and provide a layer of support that this community needs. And that kind of adds another perspective to the conversation and to the action piece on this campus as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like you said a lot of it, Tori. I think Impact has given me and a lot of other folks a space to heal. At the same time, a space to talk through these issues and a space to organize around these issues and do so in a way that's like healthy and like spiritually healthy as well. Because again, like a lot of the activists who were, you know, very vocal 4 years ago are now just, we are tired. And it's difficult to keep up that energy when everything around you is just not going how it should. And so I think Impact in particular has given me that energy back. It's reminded me that I'm loved, that I'm made in the image of God, that I can go forth and do these things and speak this truth because I know it is true. And I think overall, again, it's provided a space of healing, especially because Impact has been really vocal about talking about this. Even to like the whole state of Wisconsin being in solidarity with UW. That was really important to me and it was really impactful to me. And so I think it's nice to see organizations like Impact actually working with and for the students in terms of the social justice and advocacy we need to see on campus, because people are not being valued in the way that they should, especially in the eyes of God.
So for those who don't know what it means to be a righteous revolutionary, test time. What is a righteous revolutionary?
So from what I can gather,
From what you know.
from what I know, and kind of putting a definition around it, from my understanding, being a righteous revolutionary is first understanding who you are as a believer in Christ, and understanding that in His Word, He calls us to fight for justice for those less fortunate, and to be those forerunners for people who can't be that for themselves. And so understanding that we're believers first, but we also have this greater call in life to fight for justice and equality for everyone, but especially marginalized people in this country.
Yeah, I'd say that's really at the core of it, and also living our lives out in the way that Jesus did, and more, according to our daily declaration. Because, if you look at the life of Jesus, he was out here with the people that would be considered to be marginalized today. He was out here with the blind, the sick, the poor, those who committed a variety of sins. And so if we're going to be revolutionaries, if we're going to go out into the community and spread Jesus's word and also save souls, we have to save the mind and the physical existence of those people as well. We need to be on the forefront of freedom, and we need to be on the forefront of ensuring that students, people in the Madison community, the world, can have access to the things that they need and also have access to Jesus. And so I think that being a righteous revolutionary is both combining and walking in the truth of being both an advocate and a follower of Christ, because they have to exist together.
And the reality of reaching Black students is for us to be able to say, like, God cares about the fact that you don't feel welcome on this campus. That God says, no, that's not okay. And in us fighting for that and standing up against that, they're able to see that. Because it is the truth.
It is
that God does care that you don't feel welcome on your campus. He cares that you weren't represented in a video that was supposed to represent every UW-Madison student. So yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah. I'll give y'all a B.
I'll take it. B for blessed.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for watching Post on Canvas. Our special blog that I thought would be very important to have. To learn more about impacting Wisconsin, go to impactingwisconsin.org, and to give, go to impactwisconsin.org/give. Catch us next month.
Bye.